So it's March of 2020. You're sitting down on your couch and you see a new trailer come out for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It's Warzone, the new Battle Royale for Call of Duty. And you're just wondering to yourself, what is it going to be like? Is it going to be like Blackout from Black Ops 4? Or is it going to be just like the multiplayer? So you download it, you boot up the game, and you're amazed. You've fallen in love. You want to play the game every day of your life now. Call of Duty Warzone is literally its own game now. It's become the biggest part of Call of Duty since Modern Warfare came out in 2019. And a lot of people have been playing this game now. And today there's a total of 60 million players on Warzone. That is a massive number. A lot of people came from Battlefield. There's a lot of things in Warzone that translate to Battlefield 3. And that was one of the biggest battlefields back in the day, as well as Battlefield 4. We can all agree Battlefield 3 and 4 are the biggest inspirations for games nowadays. Hence why Ground Wars become the Call of Duty version of Conquest from Battlefield. Now in Warzone, there's a lot of ways you could play. There's a lot of different type of playstyles, and I wanted to make some videos explaining methods on how to improve your game and get better at Warzone, because you might struggle a lot. There's a lot of people here that are really hardcore and dedicated to Warzone that play it on a daily, where you're just a casual. And for you casuals, even you good players out there that still struggle, because Warzone is struggling right now with a lot of reasons. I don't want to get into that, but I wanted to make some tutorials explaining how to improve your game and have fun in Warzone. Because at the end of the day, we're here to play video games and have fun. So I wanted to help you guys and see if these videos could help you down the road and you could start having fun on Warzone again. Because I've noticed a lot of people have left Warzone because of other reasons. Battlefield, Halo, new games coming out this year, a lot of just other reasons. But aside that, while I make these videos on improving your game on Warzone, I do want to mention this. Warzone is a forever changing game. Every year a new Call of Duty comes out. It's going to change. They're going to add new weapons. They're going to change the meta. I don't like the word meta too often because that's what everybody else uses. I'm different from everybody else when it comes to what guns you use, the type of playstyle you have. I'm different from all of that. I'm more of a lone wolf on Warzone, is what I call myself. So Warzone never stays the same for long. The last time we had Warzone of no changes was during Modern Warfare's days, all the way up till Season 6. And Raver Software is trying their best, but there's a lot of changes that they could have done in the past that would have been easily fixed way ahead of schedule, but instead they focused on bugs and fixes and broken guns that weren't really that noticeable to most people. So as I make these videos, remember Warzone will be changing day by day. The first thing I want to get into with these videos is skill level and what to expect when you hop onto Warzone for the first time, or the first time in weeks, maybe months. How to get caught up with the go-to weapons. Like I said, I don't call it the meta because that's the term everybody else uses. I like to be different from everybody. With that being said, here's what to expect when playing Warzone. You're going to play your first couple of games and you're going to get your shit rocked. I will say that right now. But it's because you're facing these people that play this game on a daily basis and they treat this like as if it's their career. And it gets crazy at times. It gets really intense with the people you play against. So there's some things you could compromise and compensate for these situations that you come across with these people. One is staying back a little further on the first couple of circles, so sniping. You could snipe for the first couple of circles. It is going to be slow at first, kind of boring, but it gives you an opportunity to get those long-range sniper shots, and they are very satisfying. You will be rewarded when you get those nice sniper shots. Another method is having UAVs and heartbeat sensors to be more aware of your surroundings. You could go with the perk High Alert to stay on your toes the whole game. You can play aggressive, and my method of getting better at the game too is also getting into gunfights more often. You may lose a lot, you may win a whole bunch, but you're never going to win a Warzone game unless you get into those gunfights that are near-death scenario. Like I said, you're going to lose some, but you can also win some. You have to get in gunfights to understand how to improve and learn from your mistakes from that previous gunfight and say, okay, you know, I should have took cover here. Maybe I should have played it up here. Instead, I can maybe flank them around from behind, throw stun grenades, catch them off guard. There's different ways you could come about with a gunfight in Warzone. You don't want to go head on with an enemy. Sometimes you can when you intimidate the enemy, but that's not too often. You want to make sure you know your surroundings and be aware of other teams coming up on you so they don't third party you and the squad you're fighting against. So flanking them, for example, or waiting to take the perfect shot. You don't want to just take the shot when you see an enemy. You want to wait and see if you have a perfect opportunity, have an advantage. Height advantages are the best option for catching your enemies. If they're running in the open, you have perfect line of sight. You can either snipe them, you can spray them down with your machine gun or your AR, whichever you have. You want to make sure you secure this gunfight and you finish that enemy player. Confidence is another big factor in Warzone. You want to have confidence in every gunfight you come across, or the whole game in general from start to finish. You need to have confidence. You can't be afraid of the enemy. I mentioned this earlier, if you run away from gunfights, you won't win games. Verdansk is a huge map and there could be some downtime in between circles closing. However, if you get contracts like bounties and most wanteds, you could be able to get into fights. Some people prefer getting UAVs from chests or buy stations. You can also get them from looting people. UAVs help greatly on being aware of where the enemy are, and you could go hunt those people. In my opinion, UAVs are one of the best methods to getting action quicker and longer and having more kills. If you want that 20 bomb, getting UAVs is the best way to getting more kills. You all played Call of Duty, you know you want to have kills. That's the funnest part of Call of Duty. The intense parts of Warzone is the last final circles. That's when you're going to get the most action throughout the entire game. You're going to come across more than one team per fight, and that's when you have to be on your toes every second of the way till the last man standing. Now, other methods to getting into gunfights is, of course, contracts. Contracts are a great method. Recon. Scavenger is one of the best methods of getting your loadout faster in game because it grants you more money throughout all three of those chests that you find. I won't explain all the contracts because I want you to explore the game yourself as well and have some curiosity. I'm a true believer and the best way of learning a game is by playing it yourself. But of course, if you want to improve your game, you have videos like these. But I won't go into detail on everything in Warzone. Since we've already been a year and a half down the line, you will wonder why everyone takes scavengers at the beginning of the game. It's because scavenger contracts are one of the fastest ways to get cash to buy a loadout drop. You can always wait till the first circle closes because you always get a free loadout at the last 13 seconds of circle 1 closing. You could get a second free loadout in the 52 seconds before the 5th circle closes, so you always have a fighting chance to get that Warzone victory. Another thing I want to talk about are kill streaks and how they work in Warzone. You could buy some kill streaks in the buy station for a certain amount of cash. You could find them around Verdansk or Rebirth Island in chests, looting people, or sometimes they even appear in certain locations of the map. You also have a higher chance of finding kill streaks in chests with the kill chain perk. This perk increases the chances of finding kill streaks in chests. A thing most people didn't know about Warzone in this game that hints to you where the enemy are located are where the cluster strikes and precision strikes are coming from. If you see the direction that the precision strike came from, that's more likely where the enemy are. Same as the cluster strikes. If you see the cluster strikes coming from, for example, Superstore, and they're aiming towards airport. So depending on where you see the airstrikes and clusters are coming from, that's more than likely where the enemy are. Next thing we're going to focus on is positioning. And positioning in Warzone is crucial. You also want to get the advantage on getting to the circle before everybody else does. If you get a good position in the circle, you could watch people running from the circle. You now have a chance to watch the circle close in as enemy players are running from the gas. If you stay at the same spot for a long period of time, you're more than likely going to come across enemy players that will sneak up on you without you being aware of it. Because while you're sitting there and sniping enemies at afar, there could be enemy players pushing up on you or relocating. Another tip is repositioning when you're sniping an enemy team. When you and the opposing squad are sniping each other, you want to always relocate spots because they're going to know where you shot from. They can see the scope glint. So you want to reposition and catch them off guard. So if they scope again, and if they look at the spot you previously were at, you now have the opportunity to finish them when they aren't aware of where you were located. Unless, of course, they see the kill cam. Even then, sometimes they can't find you. There will be times where you're going to stay posted up at a spot and guard the entire perimeter around you. But you also do want to be on the move because the more you stand still, you're going to have enemies around you to catch you off guard and finish you off. You also want to make plans on where to go next when the circle closes. And you want to think of where you're at compared to where the enemy are. Getting that height on your enemies is one of the key advantages of winning gunfights. Because more of their body will be exposed than yours. Because all you'll be exposing is your head and your upper torso. Unless they get a lucky shot and get that snipe on you. I've seen many of people pull it off, and it can happen. It all depends on the skill level too. How your shots are, how accurate you are with your rifles. Your shots are what's going to win you that game too. Cover is key in Warzone, and you want to make sure you have better cover than your opponents. So with Warzone, anything could happen. Let's talk about weapons and what you should rock when you're in a Warzone. Your weapon is the most important key factor to securing that Warzone win. And with that, you want to have a great build for your weapons. With builds, I'm talking about attachments that people put on their weapons. That's a build. People call them blueprints. With blueprints, I do want to mention, because people don't know this, surprisingly. I don't know why. But you could change the attachments on your blueprints. You don't have to keep the blueprint the way they gave it to you. You could change up some attachments if you're not comfortable with them. Now, before I go any further, I want to mention why people prefer... Now, before I go any further, I want to talk about this argument of whether Rebirth is better than Verdansk. They're both great maps on their own terms. But do you see more people streaming on Verdansk than you do on Rebirth Island? Yes, you do. What's the reason? Because it takes more skill on Verdansk to get that Warzone win, in my opinion. Because it takes more skill to secure that Warzone victory in Verdansk than it does on Rebirth Island. Because Rebirth Island, you could respawn. Verdansk, you only have a certain amount of times to respawn. Now, yes, there's a mini Royale version for Rebirth Island where there is a gulag. But the map's smaller, there's less people, and you can't get as much kills there. Where on Verdansk, you can fight against 150 people. At one point, there used to be 200 player Verdansk games, and there's skill to be made on Rebirth Island too, but with Verdansk, it's a larger map, so you have to be more aware of more locations that the enemy could possibly be. Going back and talking about the weapons on Warzone now, there are broken guns, of course. We've had to deal with them a long time throughout Warzone, since day one. Everyone knows the Grau. Now, we can't go wrong. The Grau is not the most broken gun ever in the game. The most broken guns were the MAC-10 and DMR-14. Grau was suitable for every scenario, every situation you come across. And today, it's still the same. There's no difference with the Grau. It still kicks off. It can almost outgun any weapon at any range. Another great gun I love using, and this is one of my go-tos, it's the M13. The M13 is a great all-around weapon, just like the Grau. Now, after the update with nerfing the Grau, the M13 has further damage at range than the Grau does. If you add the monolithic suppressor along with the Tempest marksman barrel, keep the combat scat optic on, you're going to outrange any AR in the game. Now, if you want to look at statistics of weapons, it shows the accuracy, damage, range, fire rate, and mobility, also control for the guns. Accuracy is the bullets that spread. At range, bullets will spread. So if you improve the accuracy, more bullets are going to land on your target dead on without missing a single bullet. For me personally, I recommend the longer barrel because of its recoil control that it has, the longer damage at range, and the bullet velocity. Bullet velocity is key for me on Warzone. So with bullet velocity being a factor in Warzone, you could change the tide of the battle really quick because of how fast you can hit your target compared to how fast they hit you. Now with magazines, this is a big change because you're not going to want to run a 30 round mag. Only if you have to for certain guns, like the AS Val, since you could only run a 30 round mag for that, and the Scar H. If you have the capability to, run a 60 or 50 round mags for your guns. The M13 and M4A1, they have different ammo types as well, such as 300 blackout rounds for the M13. That increases your damage at range and damage. So some guns can increase damage, and the M4A1 has a 10 round mag that also has subsonic rounds that increase damage and damage at range. If you want to have a DMR, go for it. Put a variable zoom optic on and you're good to go. Stocks can be important too. Rear grips, if you want, try those, but I don't recommend them. For foregrips, I recommend the Ranger, Commando, or Operator foregrips. The tactical foregrip only increases your aiming stability. It does not decrease recoil at all. Aiming stability only helps preventing less sway when you're aiming down your sights with the gun. Lasers are a big one. The PKM is my baby. That is my go-to gun on Warzone. If I'm having a struggle, and I just want to have a good game, I go to the PKM. That has the best damage output and damage at range out of any gun in the game. And that is the only gun you could fit a 200 round drum mag on. For the PKM, I recommend adding the 26.9 inch extended barrel, snatch grip, 200 round belt, that VLK 3.0 optic, and the monolithic suppressor, and you're good to go. Have fun with this gun. For sniper rifles, I recommend the SPR, HDR, AX50, and Kar 98. Now, Kar 98's been a great gun since day one of Warzone. It started to get more popular during Season 6 of Modern Warfare. With the Kar 98, you could try any kind of attachments you want. There's no right or wrong with the Kar 98 unless you want to go for extreme hardcore. Then I recommend the longest barrel you got there because it increases bullet velocity, more damage at range, and of course that recoil control, which doesn't matter for sniper rifles. Variable zoom helps for the long range. Monolithic suppressor helps with range. That attack laser helps with the aim down sight speed as well and aiming stability. And if you want for a 5th perk, I go with sleight of hand. You could go with fully loaded, or you could go with the stock or rear grip, whichever you want. For the SPR, I recommend the SPR 26-inch barrel, since that is the fastest bullet velocity you could get with the sniper rifle. The .300 normal round mag, that increases bullet velocity. You can add a suppressor to it if you want. I do, sometimes I don't. If you do, add a monolithic suppressor. The variable zoom scope is the big benefit for marksman rifles, and the SPR is one of them. And if you want for a stock, go with the ZLR SPR Overseer, but it will decrease your aim down sight speed. So if you want, go with the standard stock and instead replace that stock for a suppressor. Bolt assembly, this is one of the only guns that has a bolt assembly. I would go with the one that chambers the ammo faster. For SMGs, if you want to use an SMG, I only recommend 3. I recommend the CX-09, the MP5 from Modern Warfare, and the Fennec or the Vector. These are all Modern Warfare guns because that's all I use. With those weapons, I don't have to recommend too much, so you could try out whatever attachments you want. But for the CX-09, I'll recommend the CX-38S barrel. That has a built-in suppressor in it, as well as increased bullet velocity and recoil control. Tac laser for that aim down sight speed and aiming stability. There's a third benefit to it, but I can't think of it right now. For the grip, Merc Grip or Ranger, that 50-round drum mag. And for the perk, you're going to want to have sleight of hand because it has that 1-second reload. It's the fastest reload speed you have in any gun on Warzone. M4A1 is another great gun. This is a great all-around weapon. You cannot go wrong with the M4A1. For this, I recommend the Corvus Custom Marksman Barrel or the M16 Grenadier Marksman Barrel. 60-round mag, monolithic suppressor, those are the main ones. For the other two, you could select anything you want. For me, personally, I go with an optic since the iron sights are okay, so I go with the hollow sight. And then for the most part, I go with fully loaded, because with fully loaded, it works on Warzone. And when you get it right out of the loadout drop, you get all 210 reserve rounds already included with your gun. If you want to swap the perk out for an underbarrel, you could do that. I would recommend a Commando foregrip since it doesn't punish your aim down sight speed. If you want to add a laser, you can. Stock is not necessary for this gun, but if you want a stock, the M16 stock will benefit you. If you want a 3.0 optic, the LK or Scout Combat Optic. But with optics, you could fiddle around with them. But with using iron sights, you get less recoil with your gun. For another machine gun, you could try the Bruin. That's a great all-around gun. I go with the Core Combat Hollow Sight, 60-round mag, Commando foregrip, the XRK Summit 26.8-inch barrel, and the monolithic suppressor. Now for the biggie, the HDR. This is the best sniper rifle you can use on Warzone. My friend disagrees. He just has a hard time with it, I guess. I recommend the 26.9-inch HDR Pro barrel because it increases bullet velocity. Like I said, bullet velocity is a big key factor in Warzone because it hits your target faster. If you hit your target faster than they can hit you, you win gunfights. The monolithic suppressor, of course, because it increases damage at range. Variable zoom scope. The VTAC champion since it increases aiming stability. And fully loaded. You could replace fully loaded for a 9-round mag. That is perfectly fine. Some people swap for a laser to increase that aim down sight speed, but aiming down sight speed doesn't bother me too much on this game. Unless it's the RITAC. RITAC is the worst for aim down sight speed. Same as the M82. That sniper rifle is awful with aim down sight speed, if you put on the wrong attachments. With all that being said, I think that concludes the video. Please leave a like and a comment down below. This video took me a while to do, so if you could like it and comment on it, I would greatly appreciate it. And share with someone that needs help on Warzone. This could definitely help them improve their game. And tell me what you think about the video, if this actually helped you. Anyways, peace out. Love you all. I'll see you in the next one. 'Cause we never said goodbye. We never said